Now on Talking Solutions, want to welcome into the studio Holly Walker with Fisher Phillips. What is Fisher Phillips?
Thank you so much for having me here. We're a national law firm. We have over 30 offices across the country, including one locally here in Las Vegas. We're an employment and labor law firm representing employers, everything from advising them how to revise employee handbooks and manuals to comply with new laws, like the one we're going to be talking about, all the way to representing employers in court or arbitration hearings, things like that. Basically, what I like to say is we're problem solvers. So whenever an employer comes to us and they're not really sure how to work with the details of the law, we help take care of that problem for them.
And you are an attorney.
Yes.
When I got word there was a new law relating to domestic violence here in Nevada, I'm interested to fill people in on this because this is a huge problem. I know that nationally, domestic violence affects so many people, but our numbers here in Southern Nevada are even higher.
Definitely. It's a huge problem. I took domestic violence law back in law school. It was very eye-opening in terms of the various forms of intimate partner violence. There's also child abuse, elder abuse. There are many different types, not just physical abuse. There's emotional abuse.
Oh, yeah.
Manipulation, stalking. Such a frightening problem.
Well, I wonder, Holly, this new law now on the books in Nevada, I'm interested to hear what that's all about because I'd love it if it could help with any of these issues.
Absolutely. The new law started January 1st, 2018. It's already implemented. A lot of employees and employers are familiar with FMLA, Family and Medical Leave Act,
right,
which provides employees some time off work in order to take care of certain family or medical issues. This is something similar, but it provides additional protections under the law for Nevada employees. Basically, all employers in Nevada will be required to provide up to 160 hours of protective leave to domestic violence victims during a 12-month period. This new law will apply to employees who have been employed for at least 90 days and who are victims of domestic violence. It also applies to employees whose family members are victims. For example, I don't necessarily have to be a victim of domestic violence in order to take protected leave. I could have a child who is experiencing domestic violence, and if I need to go testify in a court proceeding relating to that, I can take time off work in order to do that.
And this new law will require your employer to give you that time to take care of that need.
Yes, exactly.
I was thinking, too, so many of the news stories that we see, domestic violence spills over into workplaces. It's only been a week or two since we all saw on the news a story about an estranged man came in and shot his wife on the job at work. And this is not the first time these things have happened. I know this is all just speculation, but what if using that new law that's on the books here in the state of Nevada to help victims of domestic violence, if she was very, very fearful and she said, look, he's going to come get me, the employer will need to give her some time off so that she can get away from that situation. Because when you're on the job, you're kind of a sitting duck.
Exactly. Like you said, that's the type of issue that this new law seeks to address. So an employee under the law can take this time off for many different purposes. The law provides some specific examples: medical care, counseling, if they have to participate in court proceedings, so go in front of a judge, or creating a safety plan. The only thing that an employee needs to know is prior to using any time off, they need to provide advance notice of at least 48 hours.
So just keep your employer up on an issue that you're experiencing in your own life.
Exactly. Have some open communication to the best of your ability.
You know, when it comes to domestic violence, that would help us all anyway, because mostly women, moms with kids, a few men are in domestic violence situations as victims, but the people who are suffering from domestic violence kind of keep quiet about it. And when we start talking about it, frequently we have in studio here on Talking Solutions, Safe Nest, the Shade Tree. We'll talk about the different options that are out there. So I'm all for raising awareness on domestic violence and the many things connected to it. This does sound very positive, the new law that we've got in the state of Nevada.
It certainly is. I think the whole purpose of the law is to shine a light, to address these potential problems within the workplace, because like you said, this isn't just an insulated problem. It affects all aspects of victims' lives. One thing that the law addresses, it's meant to not only protect the victims of domestic violence, but also everyone in the workplace. It's a workplace safety issue.
You hear all the time about somebody who comes in to deal with that spouse.
Exactly.
Or someone that they're in a relationship with.
Right.
All of the coworkers who are totally innocent are in the path of what's happening.
Exactly. And one component of the law seeks to address that as well, requiring employers to provide a reasonable accommodation unless it creates undue hardship in order to to address this problem. So, for example, if you have a concern of an alleged perpetrator coming into the workplace, and if the victim of domestic violence works at the front desk, for example, perhaps one reasonable accommodation the employer and the employee can come to agreement on is moving the workstation temporarily in order to address that concern. There are many avenues the employee and the employer can also collaborate together on, protective orders, things of that nature.
And like you mentioned, Holly Walker, about this new domestic violence law, it encourages better communication between employees and their employers. And when you can at least make them aware that you've got a domestic violence situation happening, they can also work with you to try to improve your safety and give you whatever kind of leeway you need to take care of this.
Exactly. And I think you hit the nail on the head. One of the most important components of this is open communication. Just keep your employer informed and they can provide reasonable accommodations to help you.
And you're saying the new law that we've got here in the state of Nevada concerning domestic violence, it's kind of a leave act.
Yes.
So that you can have access to up to 160 hours.
Yes.
To take care of various things that stem from a domestic violence situation. Hopefully it's going to be a preventative tool. That's what we really want, right?
Exactly. That's the purpose.
This is promising. We always put the links and all the information on our Talking Solutions Facebook page, along with a podcast of our discussion today. Have you actually talked with employers to see what their feelings are on it? Or have you encountered, even at this early stage, because it's only weeks into having it in effect, anyone who has taken it as a benefit to help improve the situation they're in?
Like you said, it's an early law, so it just came into effect. I haven't seen too many of these specific situations pop up quite yet, but one thing that we've definitely seen, we've had companies and employers come to us and be like, we really care about this law. We want to know what we have to do in terms of revising our handbooks or our manuals, make sure that the proper procedures are in place so we can see what we can do. So I think this is meant to be a preventative measure, meant to ensure workplace safety across the board. I've seen employers and clients really care about ensuring that it's taken care of.
The true success of this new law would be not hearing about these devastating workplace scenarios. Is there a name for the law?
It's just basically referred to as the Domestic Violence Victims Law.
Does this affect all employers, or do small businesses have some exemption?
That's an excellent question. For this new Nevada-specific law, it applies to all private employers. There is no minimum employee exemption.
I know it's going to encourage better communication.
Absolutely.
The protections that are offered to employees through this new domestic violence law here in the state of Nevada, by having time off from work to do things in court, to deal with medical issues, or whatever they need to use it for, those hours from their employer, giving them the option to take care of needs related to a domestic violence situation, it's going to benefit people not just in the workplace, but in all phases.
The purpose of all these new laws enacted by our legislature are to address the bigger issues, not only in our personal lives, but also in our business lives. Again, you hit the nail right on the head in terms of the most important aspect. In order to effect change, employers are going to provide leave and time off for employees to address these serious concerns and problems. In addition, employees just need to keep open communication, provide advance notice whenever they can, give supporting documentation in order to both employees and employers work together and collaborate to solve this issue.
This is such a big issue. Any impact we can make in a positive fashion. We will have links to all the information on our Talking Solutions Facebook page with a podcast of our discussion today. Holly, as part of Talking Solutions, we always ask, what can we do to help you?
Just keep doing what you're doing, raising awareness, encouraging empathy, and shining lights on important issues that face our local community. Keep up the great work.
Well, I appreciate you coming in to tell us about this new law because I wasn't aware of it until I think Holly sent me the first email. Lauren followed up and said, hey, there's a new law. Would you like to talk about it? When it comes to domestic violence, yeah, we want to talk about it. We want to get the word out.
Of course.
We're really glad you're here. Is there anything I'm forgetting?
I think you covered everything very comprehensively and thoroughly. The one thing, like I mentioned, and you talked about this already, we have articles, kind of an overview of the law itself. Go online and see all that information. There are a couple of things that I do think employers need to know in terms of how to best implement and handle this new law. Again, look at your current policies and procedures that you have in place, your handbooks, your manuals. Make sure that it's up to date to address this new law. Also, there's a bulletin of information that the Labor Commissioner, which is the administrative agency that handles this new law, enforcing it, has posted on their website. So make sure just to take a look at that and ensure that you're posting that bulletin in your workplace.
All the information, links, and everything on the Talking Solutions Facebook page. Holly Walker with Fisher Phillips. Thanks for coming to fill us in on a new law that's going to help domestic violence victims. And we didn't know anything about it until you were here. Thanks so much for joining us today on Talking Solutions.
You're very kind. Thank you so much for having me.
Talking Solutions is a production of the Community Relations Department here at Beasley Media Group Las Vegas. Get more information on today's topic on our Talking Solutions page on Facebook, where you will also find links and a podcast of today's show. Thanks for listening, and have a great week.